Now, you got issues with the industry. What's going down with the industry, dog?
The industry is full of a bunch of sucking, dick riding, bending over the desk ass nigga. Straight up like that. Whoever don't like it, bring it, nigga. Bring it. I don't give a fuck. Bring it. Bring it, bitch. They got this new breed of rapper that's paying DJs to play their shit.
Right.
And, you know what I'm saying? They the record label executives, and it's like there's too much of that going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let me be me. Let me be the artist that I am and just play my motherfucking music. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now they want you all up under this, you know, sitting at going to dinner with them and shit like that, and you know, all that favor for a favor shit. I don't get down like that. Look, I give you the music, you give my money. That's it. A lot of the love I had for wanting to be a part of the industry is not there anymore. I don't even associate myself with the industry. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an industry artist. I'm an artist in the industry.
I get a little uncomfortable. I get uncomfortable. Like he said something to me one time, a long time ago. He told me he'd take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say? Let me move, man, before I do something. You gonna make me mess up the wedding.
Oh, that's a nice gesture.
Let me get out of no, take me, that's what a guy says to a girl.
Turns out, DMX had been trying to alert us about Diddy for years. Most people didn't take his words seriously except one person who did, 50 Cent. DMX never held back when speaking on the darker side of the music industry. He once described it as being full of people willing to do anything to move ahead, sell out, kiss up, even compromise themselves completely. And he wasn't just saying it for attention. DMX claimed he had come face to face with evil in the industry, and that's how he knew God existed, because if real evil was present, then so was the need to fight to stay grounded. He made it clear that while he operated in the music business, he was never owned by it. That's why no one could ever fully control him. He refused to play their game.
And what did they do? They sold the company. They invited me into a house and they sold it. Yeah, I am mad. You know what I mean? Go right, I'm mad. I feel betrayed, man, but it. You know what I mean? It's a business and I'm gonna carry it like a business. But my music is still my fucking music. And you play my music, you play on my life. You play on my life, nigga, you're gonna disappear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, things are definitely changing there, man.
Yeah, they got a whole new staff now, so I gotta go in and see what's up, you know what I'm saying?
Now fast forward to the present, and some of the most disturbing stories about Diddy are coming to light, revelations darker than most people ever expected. Suddenly, those things DMX used to say don't sound so far-fetched anymore. He once revealed he turned down deals with Diddy because something didn't feel right. At one point, Diddy had passed on signing DMX. But once Def Jam showed serious interest in offering DMX a major deal, Diddy tried to jump back in, even attempting to double the offer. But X wasn't buying it. He'd already heard unsettling things about what was going on behind the scenes at Bad Boy Records.
Respect about Puff, one thing I respect about him is that at least he told me to my face what he felt. He was like, his voice is too rough, he's not marketable. Maybe 3 weeks later, when he found out I was getting signed for Def Jam, he was like, yo, I'll lace your pockets. I'll double what they gave you and lace your pockets. I'm like,
If you didn't know what I was then, you just pretty much jumped on the bandwagon now.
Right. If you didn't see the beast that I was then, I'm like, nah, I'm cool.
So it's a legendary story.
Like I told you, we sat down with Diddy, but he knew he wasn't going to sign with Diddy. He knew Diddy wasn't going to sign him. He knew in his mind that Diddy wouldn't want to take on problems right now.
Yayo said that you were supposed to sign the Bad Boy.
Look, they know I was talented. They just looked at it and was like, I don't want all of the stuff that comes with it. So M stumbled over it, but he didn't know the trouble that came with it. You see what I'm saying? So I was like, yo, nah, this is perfect.
Some believe that when DMX accused Diddy of robbing his artists, he was only referring to money. But given everything that's been revealed recently, people are beginning to question whether he meant it in a much more literal sense.
DMX told us about Diddy. DMX was known for talking out about how wicked the industry actually was. He talked about how the industry would basically unalive people because they made more money off of you than alive. One thing that stuck in my mind is the fact that DMX said that he never saw Biggie smile until he passed away. He explained that you would always see happiness in a person's smile or even in their eyes, and he literally didn't ever see that from Biggie until he was in his casket. In the same interview from a long time ago, he talked about how Diddy would rip off his artists and steal their publishing.
I never saw Biggie smile until after he died. And the Hypnotize video came out. You know, Hypnotize. I'm like, oh! Like a smile brings a whole other light to your your face. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. I'm really good with words, but like it's hard to explain what a smile does for a person. Because you don't just smile with your mouth; you smile with your eyes. Like, like a true smile can be seen even if a person is covering their mouth. Well, locks got signed before I did. Even though I bought the locks to our riders, they got signed. They were a safer group. Pop signed them. And it was a blessing and a curse because they were sure they were happy about getting signed first, and they were on the Benjamins and shit was going. But then he made them jiggy and put them in suits and made them write lyrics for him and took all that publishing and like, damn. I'm glad I didn't,
And this isn't the only thing that DMX talked about. He also talked about how there were people in the industry that basically wanted to take you out to dinner and stuff to get a hold of your music. And you cannot tell me that DMX was not talking about Diddy, because the first thing that I thought of is when 50 Cent said that Diddy asked to take him shopping. DMX even explained how some of these artists would sleep with music executives to get up in the industry. And now that we know how Diddy rolls and what he was doing with people's careers, I almost guarantee you the person that DMX was talking about was Diddy.
And DMX didn't only call out Diddy. He also spoke about how some up-and-coming rappers were willing to do anything to get signed things that had nothing to do with their music. There were whispers about artists performing questionable favors for label executives just to get their records played. Interestingly, many of these same allegations have also surrounded Diddy.
And when you think of it now, he was grooming us. It's kind of like you're signing boy band groups and girl band groups because you like one or two of them and you want to see who's gonna go. It's nothing to you but a tax write-off, but you were really searching for a butt the whole time. So he was looking for my butt, Chopper butt, everybody butt. It wasn't nothing about the music. Was like, yeah, I can, and it took off to be bigger than he ever expected it to be. But Puffy coming up, he was just signing a lot of boys. Usher, it was something he figured out that R. Kelly figured out, is we can get them away from the parents. If we could get them alone, isolated, then we can get them. Once you get in a butt, it's like, you on us now. What you gonna say? I got video of me in your butt. Like, how can you ever make another record? You dig what I'm saying?
DMX even made a song titled The Industry, where he laid out how corrupt and fake the business really was. He said, it's not about talent anymore, it's about playing the game. They want to control your style, your behavior, your voice. And if you don't play along, you're finished. But DMX refused to pretend. He said, I'm not an industry artist, I'm an artist in the industry. And now, in 2025, everything he said back then is starting to feel like a warning we should have heeded. He spoke out about artists selling their souls. He exposed the predators. He specifically warned us about Diddy.
You fucking right, I go to Diddy parties, which is where people like me step in. To walk motherfuckers out! Cause ain't nobody stopping me when I come. Why would they talk about it? Who is there to go to? Who's gonna fucking help them? What HR department do you know of that works for any of these labels?
Yeah.
When have you ever heard of a sexual harassment suit being publicly acknowledged in the entertainment industry at all? Never. Not in entertainment.
Tupac. Remember that one?
He was the only one.
Yeah.
You saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
No, guilty.
That's why they do it. To make you an example. To remind you what they're willing to do to keep things the way they want them. It's intimidation. Can't go to the authorities. They're all bought and paid for. You could try to get a special prosecutor, but they'll just pay somebody to reassign him to another case.
Instead of paying attention to DMX, people mocked him. They called him crazy, said he was addicted, washed up. The media constantly targeted him. Even after his death in 2021, they chose to label him as troubled rather than honoring him with the respect he earned. Yes, DMX had his struggles, he battled addiction and had run-ins with the law, but he was never accused of harming women or children. He wasn't linked to any serious allegations of predatory behavior, unlike some powerful industry figures who continue to gain wealth and fame. And the real concern now? There's a real possibility that Diddy might walk away without consequences.
Let's bring in David Gellman, former prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney. David, welcome.
Hey, Mike, good to be here.
So in week 2 of testimony, jurors heard from a dozen witnesses as prosecutors try to prove sex trafficking and racketeering. What are your expectations when court resumes tomorrow?
It's going to be really interesting tomorrow when Diddy's third or fourth assistant takes a stand, and she's going to actually corroborate Kid Cudi's testimony from last week, where he said that Diddy and another associate of his bombed his Porsche years ago at his house. Now, you have to have corroboration about that because nobody can put Diddy there. And in fact, nobody even can say Diddy's the actual one who did it. But if they can say that Diddy or an associate of his did it, then you may have a racketeering charge there. Because right now, as it stands, Mike, nothing, and I mean nothing, is sticking to Diddy.
Diddy's lawyers are trying to make the case that his escapades do not amount to federal crimes. How difficult is that argument?
I think they're doing a fantastic job, honestly. Look, everybody has said, and Diddy's lawyers even said it in their opening statement, Diddy is not a good guy. There's a lot of domestic violence that occurred between him and Cassie in their relationship. However, what we've heard so far from the testimony of Cassie and the other individuals does not amount to the federal charges that he's being charged with right now. I'm not going to say anything that we heard is very good because it's all horrific. However, the state or the government in this particular instance needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he conspired to racketeer, to sex traffic, and to promote prostitution. So far, they're falling way behind in this. And I know there's a lot more to go in this trial because they're saying it's going to be about 8 weeks. But the government really better step on the gas because they don't have a lot more time to go.
So the play seems to be maybe admit to a state crime that avoids prison time. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. Look, again, you're hearing about all this domestic violence, but all of that has nothing to do with what Diddy is charged with. There's a possibility, and I'm saying a very strong possibility right now, that Diddy could walk, that he could be spending 4th of July at home having a bar.
Rapper 50 Cent, however, has other plans. He's publicly stated that he intends to contact President Donald Trump, and his goal is to stop Trump from pardoning Diddy. That could shift everything. On Friday, Trump held a press conference in the Oval Office alongside Elon Musk, where he stunned many by saying he might consider granting Diddy a pardon if he's convicted in the ongoing federal racketeering case. 50 Cent responded quickly on Instagram, saying he wouldn't let that slide. He made it clear he wants Trump to understand just how serious the situation is. He said some really bad things about Trump. That's not okay. I'm going to reach out so Trump knows how I feel about this guy. 50 wrote. In a follow-up post, he added, Donald doesn't handle disrespect well, and he remembers who crosses him. Earlier that week, Diddy's former assistant, Capricorn Clark, took the stand and shared a troubling story. After an MTV event, she said Diddy told his manager, Chris Lighty, I don't like all the back and forth. I like guns. This comment came while riding in an elevator, and it didn't go unnoticed. 50 Cent, who famously survived being shot 9 times in 2000, mocked the line on Instagram. Clark's testimony didn't stop there. She also described more disturbing events.
Her explosive testimony in the federal sex trafficking trial against Sean Diddy Combs.
Yeah, today jurors heard from Capricorn Clark. She was a former employee of Combs who testified that the music mogul kidnapped and threatened her during her time working for him. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges in the case.
NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas is outside the courthouse for us once again in New York City. Chloe, what did Clark say on the stand today?
It was incredibly riveting. She was emotional just a few moments ago. She actually apologized to the judge for crying so much. This is a woman who was a personal assistant for Combs at one point and then held various roles on and off over the course of 14 years. And she talked about this one moment from December 2011 when she says that Combs was furious when he found out that Cassie had been cheating on him with musician Kid Cudi. Remember, Kid Cudi, whose real name is Scott Muscudi, he testified last last week. And so now we're getting a fuller picture of her version of what happened in December 2011 when Combs allegedly broke into Kid Cudi's house after he found out that Cassie and Kid Cudi were having this relationship. And she says that Combs showed up to her apartment early in the morning with a gun and kidnapped her, forced her to go with him to break into Kid Cudi's home. And then she said that she stayed back in the car and she called Cassie and warned her what was going on. She also says that later that morning, she returned to Sean Combs' house after he had her go and get Cassie and bring her to him. She says that that's when she witnessed Combs violently Cassie and her to the point that she fell to the ground in a fetal position, and that he continued to kick all the way from the front threshold of this mansion to the street. And she says that she was so worried for Cassie's life that she actually called her mother, Regina Ventura, and told her to call 911. But this is slightly different, you guys, than what we heard on the stand from Kid Cudi. Also, when we heard Regina Ventura take the stand, we didn't hear about that call from Capricorn Clark. So, it's really interesting for me to sit in this courtroom and you hear little bits and pieces of these alleged events. And so it's going to be really interesting to hear what the jury eventually thinks in a few weeks. And I also want to point out that it looks like the prosecution might actually be running ahead of schedule, and they may only have just about 4 weeks left of their case before they hand it over to the defense.
And Chloe, who else are we expecting to see on the stand this week?
So today we're expecting to hear from some of the individuals that got to the scene of Kid Cudi's car explosion a few weeks after this alleged kidnapping. Remember, he said last week on the stand that Combs was so angry about his relationship with Cassie going on behind his back that he was behind this Molotov cocktail being put into his Porsche convertible. And we saw pictures of the damage of his Porsche last week. So we're expecting to hear from some of the firefighters and the police officers that were leading this investigation.
Gene Deal, another figure close to the situation, added even more troubling details in support of Clark's testimony.
Capricorn testified against Puffy on Tuesday. You was there, right? How did that go from your point of view?
When Capricorn testified, man, it was heartfelt not because she was crying and going through all the pain that Cassie and her went through, and because when you heard her testimony, you found out that she really didn't care for Cassie like that. They friendship grew. They had grown into a friendship that she cared more about Diddy, because she even wrote him letters that she had a crush on him back in the day. So it was kind of weird hearing all the stuff she was going through. And in my mind, I was thinking that, and knowing who Diddy was, he probably slept with her too. That's what I was thinking. I don't know that to be true. You understand? But what people didn't understand in her testimony, because just like Dawn, that he would fire her, then she'll come back, or she'll go get another job, and then she'll have to come back, or whatever didn't work about, something like that. People don't understand this, bro. And when you look at the situation with all the people that were employed by Diddy and that was in the music world, it's this old proverb, the golden rule. And what's the golden rule? The man with all the gold make all the rules. They think it's 5 times they said. Up in this old abandoned warehouse like. So she was terrified and she was scared and she didn't want to go, but she had to go. And she put Paul Offord on blast. That's the one they used to call Uncle Paulie. She put him on blast like he was some gangster taking her up there. And if she would have been found, and all the polygraphs came up inconclusive, whatever that shit is. It wasn't conclusive that she did anything regarding stealing any of the jewelry or something like that. So it was just a fear tactic with her.
The history between 50 Cent and Diddy goes back nearly to decades. In 2006, 50 released a diss track called The Bomb, accusing Diddy of having knowledge about who was responsible for the murder of Notorious Big. Since then, several insiders have echoed similar claims.
I said, yo, Big, somebody gonna try to come tonight. And Lil C's, who I hadn't seen all week, Lil C says, Gene, go ahead on with that cop shit. I said, I know one thing, you better get you a GED. You know what that is? A good enough degree so they don't cheat you out your money like they doing your man right here. And I was talking to about Big, because I had read his whole contract on the plane, because Puff had gave me the briefcase. When he gave me the briefcase, you know, like he just do some bullshit, hand me the briefcase, and went to first class, and I went to coach in the emergency exit, and I just opened it up, start reading the shit. So I'm saying, because at the end of the contract, Big was begging for his, well, he was asking for his publishing and his marketing back, and Puff was saying in the contract, we'll revisit that at a later date. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just reading this story. I got 6 hours on this plane. I'm gonna go through whatever's in this briefcase.
Somebody told that. Somebody told Puff, Pac gotta die, Big gotta die. And Suge Knight gonna go to jail. You know, these people plan 25 years in advance. Had Pac and Big still been alive today, come on, brother. You and I both know how strong they would have been.
In the years that followed, 50 has regularly criticized Diddy on social media. Things escalated after Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, filed a lawsuit accusing him of abuse and inappropriate parties. Now, 50 is reportedly working on a Netflix documentary that will explore the sexual misconduct allegations tied to Diddy. Meanwhile, in court, things continue to unfold. A former assistant testifying under the name Mia told the jury she was sexually assaulted by Diddy during her time working for him from 2009 to 2017.
A former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs gave emotional testimony today in Combs' and racketeering trial. She claimed Combs sexually assaulted her multiple times, and ABC's Rita Roy has the details.
Celebrity stylist and friend of Cassie Ventura, Deontay Nash, walking into a Manhattan courthouse today, facing more cross-examination from the defense team of Sean Diddy Combs. Nash, who was subpoenaed to testify, detailing multiple instances of alleged violence and control he says he witnessed in Ventura and Combs' relationship. He testified he often saw Ventura bruised up and that he once witnessed Combs hitting Ventura. He told jurors Ventura confided in him how Combs pressured her into unwanted sex with male prostitutes, and that he knew her to spend nights with Combs in hotel rooms against her will, including one time on her 29th birthday when Combs allegedly told her, "I do all this for you, and you can't do this one thing for me," apparently referring to her not wanting to participate in a freak-off. Nash said another time Combs threatened to release sex tapes of Ventura, telling the jury that Ventura said she didn't want to have sex with those guys in the tapes, but she did it because, quote, Puff wanted her to. The defense questioning Nash's recollection about certain incidents, including that alleged bloody. And when Nash testified that Combs controlled everything about Ventura's appearance, defense attorneys suggested it was a business decision rather than an element of coercion. Combs' team has conceded that he was abusive, but that the violence was due to drugs and jealousy, and not about him forcing her into sex. A former assistant of Combs taking the stand under the pseudonym Mia, telling jurors about the times Combs allegedly forced himself onto her sexually. She says working with him was exciting, but chaotic and toxic, talking about multiple instances of alleged violence. Now, Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges against him and has maintained that all sexual encounters were consensual.
Diddy's attorney, Brian Steele, questioned her aggressively on the witness stand, referencing old text messages and social media posts where she appeared to show affection toward him. Prosecutor Maureen Kami described the line of questioning as degrading and warned that it could discourage other potential victims from speaking out.
I didn't know that Diddy actually is being charged with tampering with some of these witnesses and victims before his trial started underneath the RICO charge. And the crazy thing is, what if I tell you that this same past behavior was alleged in Diddy's last criminal trial in the 1999 nightclub incident with J-Lo? They were alleging back in 1999 during that nightclub incident that Diddy was using his entourage to help mess with these witnesses. The one being named was Diddy's Diddy's bodyguard, Uncle Paulie, who we keep hearing brought up in the current trial as a co-conspirator for a lot of different things that Diddy allegedly has done. And y'all know I'm about to break it all down, so let's get into it. This is the indictment for Diddy's current criminal charge, and as you can see under here, it says that he is being charged with multiple acts of tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. This is separate from the charge of bribery of a witness that we can assume is when Diddy allegedly paid the hotel security $100,000 to make the video of him beating Cassie disappear. And this is another part in the indictment where it starts dealing some of the intimidation or bribery of a witness. When Diddy's authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in or about late 2023, following public allegations of Combs' crimes, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery, to stay silent and not report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, Combs and other members and associates of the enterprise, among other things, provided these victims and witnesses with false narratives of events in effort to conceal Combs' crimes. Combs caused these calls to be recorded on at least 2 occasions.
What do you think? Will this latest update actually lead to real consequences, or will it be swept under the rug like so many others? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more updates as this story unfolds.